Hi, Pumpkin. I am going to go ahead and read Esther chapter 2. So we left chapter 1 and Queen Vashti got banished. So chapter 2 starts off and it says, "But after Xerxes' anger had subsided, he began thinking about Vashti and what she had done and the decree that he had made. So his personal attendants suggested, 'Let us search the empire to find a beautiful young girl for the king. Let the king appoint agents in each province to bring these beautiful young women into the royal harem at the fortress of Susa. Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the harem, will see that they are all given beauty treatments. After that, the young woman who most pleases the king will be made queen instead of Vashti.' Of course, he liked that idea. Says this advice was very appealing to the king, so he put the plan into effect. Silly guy. At that time, there was a Jewish man in the fortress of Susa whose name was Mordecai, son of Jair. He was from the tribe of Benjamin and was a descendant of Kish and Shimei. His family had been among those who, with King Jehoiakim of Judah, had been exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. That was like they got carried off hundreds of miles. This man had a very beautiful and lovely young cousin, Hadassah, who was also called Esther. When her father and mother died, Mordecai adopted her into his family and raised her as his own daughter. As a result of the king's decree, Esther, along with many other young women, were brought to the king's harem at the fortress of Susa and placed in Haggai's care. Haggai was very impressed with Esther and treated her kindly. He quickly ordered a special menu for her and provided her with beauty treatments, and he assigned her 7 maids especially chosen from the king's palace, and he moved her and her maids into the best place in the harem. Esther had not told anybody of her nationality and family background because Mordecai told her not to. Every day, Mordecai would take a walk near the courtyard of the harem to find out about Esther and see what was happening to her. Before each young woman was taken to the king's room, she was given the prescribed 12 months of beauty treatments. 6 months with oil of myrrh, followed by 6 months with special perfumes and ointments. 12 whole months of beauty treatments. Wow. When it was time for her to go to the king's palace, she was given her choice of whatever clothing or jewelry she wanted to take from the harem. That evening, when she was taken to the king's rooms, and the next morning she was brought to the second harem where the king's wives lived. There she would be under the care of Shashgaz, the king's eunuch in charge of the concubines. She would never go to the king again unless he especially enjoyed being with her and requested her by name. Paraphrasing a little here. Esther was the daughter of Abihail, who was Mordecai's uncle. Mordecai had adopted his younger cousin, Esther. When it was Esther's turn to go to the king, she accepted the advice of Haggai, the eunuch in charge of the harem. She asked for nothing except what he suggested, and she was admired by everyone who saw her. Esther was taken to King Xerxes at the royal palace in early winter of the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther more than any of the other young women. He was so delighted with her that he set the royal crown on her head and declared her queen instead of Vashti. To celebrate the occasion, he gave a great banquet in Esther's honor. Isn't that how he got in trouble before? Anyway, he gave a great banquet in Esther's honor for all his nobles and officials, declaring a public holiday for the provinces and giving generous gifts to everyone. Even after all the young women had been transferred to the second harem and Mordecai had become a palace official, Esther continued to keep her family background and nationality a secret. She was still following Mordecai's directions, just as she did when she lived in his home. Then it skips ahead a little bit, and it goes, one day, as Mordecai was on duty at the king's gate, two of the king's eunuchs, Bigthana and Teresh, who were guards at the door of the king's private quarters, became angry at King Xerxes, and they plotted to assassinate him. Wow, they're supposed to be protecting him. But Mordecai heard about the plot, and he gave the information to Queen Esther. And she went and told the king and said that Mordecai had told her. She gave credit to Mordecai. When an investigation was made and Mordecai's story was found to be true, it says the two men were impaled on a sharpened pole. Ow! This was all recorded in the book of the history of King Xerxes' reign. And that's the end of chapter 2. So, we have quite a bit to go, but it's interesting how Esther became the queen. She didn't have a choice in that matter. He just liked her and said, "You're going to be my queen." So, and it still hasn't said anything about God or anything. It's just telling the story of how Esther became the queen. So, we'll see what happens. I love you. Talk to you later. Bye.